Welcome everybody to the Explore CORTEX2 3 million euro funding first webinar to unfold for you the funding opportunity coming from our first open call. I am Iwa Stefanik, a project manager innovation funding maestra from F6S, and I will be your moderator today of this session. And this is what we have prepared for you. So we will first cover what is actually CORTEX2. Then we're gonna move to the core part of this webinar, which is the offer of the funding divided into two tracks. So we have the offer for the code developers and the offer for the use cases. Hopefully after the session, you will be able to assess if this opportunity is actually for you. We will move on to the CORTEX2 technology offer. We will be covering the technical aspects of the CORTEX2 framework, and then we will wrap it up the session with the Q&A. These are the speakers for today. So we have Alain Pagani, the principal investigator of the DFKI, who is the project manager, the project coordinator of the CORTEX2. We have Narek Minaskan, the research engineer, also from the DFKI, my dear colleague Ellie Shtereva, the open co-manager, and myself. Four of us, we will try to obviously uncover for you all what is important to really kick off thinking of the application. But before we actually start with the presentation, just a very few reminders. So again, this webinar will be recorded. So it will be published on our Open Call 1 page, as well as our social media. We especially encourage you to stay tuned and track our social media, because we are planning to run more webinars with, a deeper look on the topics, domains, and evaluation criteria. So definitely stay tuned. And the rule for asking the question in today's chat, in today's session, is actually we encourage you to post question directly in the chat. Our team will try to answer them during the presentations. Those that will be uncovered, we will be covering during the Q&A session. And additional information for you, we will be taking the question also to our frequently asked question session that will be built on our page. I believe this is all. If you have already questions, definitely kick off the Q&A chat. And without further ado, I would like to invite the first speaker, Alain Pagani, to unfold for us what is actually CORTEX2. So Alain, you are free to go.
Yes, hello everyone. So I'm Alain Pagani from the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence, the FKI in Germany. I'm also the coordinator of the project CORTEX2, and I would like to give you a short presentation to present the project itself and what we are doing. I hope that you can see my slide. Yes. So why CORTEX2? This is the first question we have. So actually CORTEX2 is a Horizon Europe project. It started approximately 1 year ago in September 22. And the name CORTEX2 is an acronym that stands for Cooperative Real-Time Experiences with XR. And the square comes from the double X, so experiences with XR. We are a project with 10 partners that I will present later on. And we have a total funding of 8 million euro. And half of it, roughly 4 million euro, are reserved for this type of open calls that we name FSTP, funding of third parties. So why did we start the project? So when we started the project, we found out that since the COVID time, many people started to work from home. This remote working is a nice experience for many people, but also you might have a number of struggles. And if you look at this recent study from Buffer, if you ask what struggles you when you work remotely, then only 31% of the participants say that they don't have any struggle working remotely, which means that 69% do have struggles, and they have many different types of struggle. They can have difficulty focusing, they can not be able to unplug, they have problems staying motivated, and also 17% say that they have difficulties in communication and collaboration. So actually we found out that remote collaboration, remote working, comes with a number of problems. And that's where the project CORTEX2 comes in, that we want to solve this problem and facilitate the communication and common work, even if you are in a remote place. So the challenges are that we would like to offer remote work as a standard tool, but the existing applications, existing video conferencing systems are not ready, not only for office work, but we want to extend also to any kind of work if you have to work with physical objects or assets. And these tools are not ready yet. And at the same time, we want to use extended reality as a support for this type of activities. So we want to have a wide adoption of remote work, and we want to address the difficulty of the companies to adapt this new type of work. So what are we doing? So typically, instead of doing simple video conferencing, we want to tackle difficult scenarios like the one depicted here. So you have one person, Arthur, is working from a factory on a complex problem involving complex machines or complex processes. And this person might have a problem in his work and wants to seek help from a remote expert. This person is remote, so she's not in the office, but she wants to know about the problem. So we actually capture the reality, we reconstruct reality and transport it to the other side where the person with a VR headset can actually look and see the problem and try to help. And this is not only 2 persons, but we want to have as many persons as possible and also using as many different devices as possible. So in that example, we have Rebecca, who is traveling in a train and can still join the conference using a simple smartphone. So we want to have a very big framework supporting many kinds of applications, multiple device types, multiple client types. We are currently working on Unity and WebXR. And also we want to offer additional XR services like studio reconstruction, avatars, and so on. So our goals is to democratize and generalize access to remote collaboration with the help of next generation XR experiences. And for that, we use XR as an extension of simple video conferencing. We build our tools to be resource efficient, so as to not use too much energy. We want the experience to be easy to use, natural, flexible. We seek also the help of AI, so semantic interpretation tools for simplifying the collaborative work. There is an integration of connected objects, so this Internet of Things devices can be integrated. And we do that under the umbrella of an ethical, legal, and social analysis that helps us making this correctly. We have a number of innovations. First is that we want to use AR, so augmented reality, as a natural extension of video conferencing. So you can actually mix digital world with the real world. But we also go to the full set of XR experiences, including also VR. We make our tools resource efficient. This is by doing a new kind of video transmission. We use maximally all the channels, so vision, but also text and speech, to have a better experience. We would like to have a full integration of IoT devices, so as to be able to use the IoT. And we optimally extend this because our framework is modular, and we can actually build it as a set of modules, but we can also integrate external modules that can be provided by external partners. So in order to showcase this project, we have selected 3 pilots. We will actually speak a little bit more about the pilots in a presentation later on, but I will just give you a short overview. So the first one is a remote cooperation using AR in an industrial context. So this is basically the scenario I've presented before. The second one is a remote technical training where you have trainees that can learn a certain skill. In that case, is using an excavator, and it's done via VR. And the last one is a VR business meeting where you can virtually meet in a virtual room with different appearances, avatars, and also the help of artificial intelligence in the meetings. So we don't start the project from scratch. What we have is a backbone that is the tool Rainbow from the company Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise. So Rainbow is basically a unified communication as a service. So this is basically a video conferencing with a chat system that allows you also to share files and create meetings. So this is the base that we use, and we actually extend it and use this platform by allowing for the use of virtual and augmented reality. And based on this backbone, we develop a number of extended reality modules and services. So one of them, for example, is the ability of reconstructing your environment. So with a simple camera, you can actually scan your room, and you can then share it with your partners in the meeting so that they can see where you are. A second innovation is that we create instant video avatars where you can, in a video conference, use the appearance of someone else and using generative AI. We also use AI for conversational agents and semantic interpretation. Here is model language. So we have a text-to-speech and speech-to-text module, speech-to-text module, sorry, that helps us understanding the context of a specific meeting that we can then transcript and summarize. And we have a full integration of IoT devices using an IoT platform. So now I will just present shortly the project. So first, the partners. So we are 10 partners from 7 countries. We are a nice mix of universities, institutes, also companies. So there are DFK, where I'm from. We have the Greek partner, Intracom Telecom. We have the French company, Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise. Then from Spain, we have the University Jaume I. We have the French company Linagora, focusing more on language. The German company Actimate, who is the main use case partner for the training. Then we have the University KU Leuven, and specifically the Center for IT and Law from Belgium. Then we have the company F6S, who is helping us organizing the open calls. Australo from Estonia is taking care of dissemination and communication, and we have the French Research Institute, CEA. Now the project, as all the projects, is actually split into different phases. So basically, we started by looking at requirements and modeling the framework that we want to build up. Then we have a phase with technology development, and we will finally finish with a phase on assessment and validation. So this makes a timeline that started in September 22 and will end 3 years later at the end of August 2025. And then within these phases, we already started to work on specific tasks. So we are here collecting requirements, creating the models. We are doing an inventory of ethical and societal implications. Then in the technology development, we started to create extended reality modules and services. We are building up the collaborative space and also the components and the development. And then in the assessment phase, we will develop our use case, assess them under ethical and societal point of view, and we will also look at exploitation and impact. So in this line, we have a parallel line, because this project has a particularity that we have specific funding for third parties. So this is why we are doing this webinar now. So this means that during technology development, we'll have open calls for co-development, and then we'll integrate the co-development. And the same for use cases that will be also integrated in assessment and validation. And today we are at month 15. So we are almost in the middle of the technology development, and this is the time to start the open calls. And the open calls is the subject of today, but I will just give you a very short overview of the basic numbers. So we will have 2 open calls. Now we have just started the first one. It will finance 30 ideas for an overall budget of 4 million euro. And the idea is to finance mainly startup and SMEs, but we also have programs for research-oriented institutions and business-driven organizations. In short, what you can get is up to 100,000 euro for co-development of an additional feature and 200,000 euro for deploying and assessing new use cases. The first open call now is open, and the deadline for application on January 16th 2024 at 5 p.m. With that, I end my presentation, and I would give over to Iwa, who will present more specifically the open code.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alain. So indeed, my goal is to really unfold for you the basics for this first open call. So you will understand how to navigate, especially between the two tracks. So let's just get it started. So what are the objectives of this first open call? Alain has already briefly mentioned, but we want to attract the third parties, so they're gonna investigate, advance, and demonstrate the technical features of CORTEX2 innovative and digital extended reality teleconference platform. But also very important aspect is actually to assess and validate the social impact of XR technology adoption. I saw already the question in the Q&A. So the third parties can be also the one producing the data sets to actually analyze this through the data. The key mass information to actually even consider applying is when to apply. So we launched the call already in October. It's gonna run almost 3 months, and yeah, the deadline is 16 January 2024. What I really want to highlight specifically, the deadline is at specific time, that is 5 o'clock Central European time. Please keep in mind that at this time, the F6S application platform is going to automatically stop and will not be accepting any more submission. When we continue, we're going to find 20 projects in this first open call, 10 projects per each of the track. We have for this open call 3 million euro to be distributed, like with the maximum funding of 100,000 for the co-development tracks and 200,000 for the use cases, and respectively, the duration of the program differ, 9 months for the co-developers and 12 months for the use cases. So again, very important highlight, this open call 1 has 2 separate tracks to apply. So track 1 co-development and track 2 use cases. This is also one of the questions in the chat. So this is the moment exactly when I'm going to be unfolding the difference. So the open call 1 design, we will be going into details, but for now, you understand what are the main differences. The differences is who can actually apply, what they're going to be doing, and how long is going to be the program. And of course, the difference will be in funding. Each of those aspects we will cover, me and Ellie, in the upcoming slides. What is very important for you to understand, you must choose to apply either to track 1 or to track 2, because there are certain conditions that apply for this open call. Only 1 proposal per team will be accepted, and entity can be granted only once. This is a public funding coming from the European Commission. We need to obey certain rules that are non-negotiable. If we look closer for each of the tracks, they have a specific design. So track number 1, when we are obviously attracting the co-developers, the tech startups, we have 10 defined topics of interest for the CORTEX2, specifically for the project, for the framework. If any of these 10 topics is not of your interest, don't worry, we cover you, so you can apply, submit your own proposal, but it must be aligned with the CORTEX2 framework, our vision and objectives that we want to achieve. And similar approach applies for the track number 2. For the use cases, there are 8 defined domains of high interest for CORTEX2 project. But nevertheless, also, if it doesn't fit you, please bring us proposed new domain of your interest, of your expertise, that we can definitely explore the CORTEX2 framework and additional developments. So overall requirements for the open call for both of the tracks, they are equal. There are 6 annexes that document the open call terms and conditions. Don't worry, you don't need to now dive deep into all of those 6. I will guide you where to start. So absolutely must read is the Annex 1, which is the guidelines for applicants that's going to cover all the conditions and terms that this program involves, and that you, by applying, accept those terms. In order to understand the technical aspects of the CORTEX2, apart from the presentation that will be given today, we really strongly recommend to study Annex 1.1. And if you want to know in advance what will be the question at the F6S application, Annex 2 is also for you. What is really mandatory at this stage, at the stage of the submission, is the proposal. So in case you're going to be applying for track number 1, it is mandatory to submit, that means upload at the F6S application form Annex 2.1. It has a proposal that you're going to follow the specific template that you need to fill in, save as a PDF, and simply submit. This is around 10 pages proposal document without the front page. And similar, it applies for the track number 2. If you apply there, you need to download first the template, fill in the template, and again, submit at the right question at the F6S page. The rest of the annexes will be required only at the contracting phase once you are selected for the funding. This is a snapshot, what you can expect in the guidelines for applicants. It will cover all of your potential questions from the project itself, the differences and the topics that you can apply of each of the tracks, the eligibility criteria, what is expected in the evaluation process, what's the contracting phase, and what actually you will be doing once you're gonna be selected in each of the program, and how the funding will be distributed, and many more. Concerning the eligibility, of course, the guidelines is your reference points, but there are some general rules that apply here in this first open call. So the eligible entities are organizations based in the EU and any Horizon Europe associated member states. Regarding the SMEs, eligible SMEs must fall under the definition of the SME according to the European Commission, and there is a special SME user guide if it's the first time that you are applying. Specific case for the track number 2, for the use cases, we have extended eligibility of the entities, but my colleague Ellie will cover, so I'm not gonna go now into details. What is really important to remember that for-profit companies which are big enough not to be considered an SME, which basically means they don't follow the recommendation and definition of the EC, are not eligible to apply for this funding in this specific call. In our guidelines for applicants, you will find a hyperlinked user guide how to identify and assess whether you are eligible SME. Regarding the eligible countries, all of this is also covered in the guidelines for applicants. Basically, member states of the European Union with the outermost regions, the overseas countries and territories linked to the member states, and all the Horizon Europe associated countries. What are those countries? Don't worry, all the list, also you can find it in the document hyperlink to the guidelines for applicants. So where to actually start? Well, it's good to start with having access to all the documents that I have just introduced to you. On our website, on the page specifically, you have the download button to get all the documents I have just mentioned. And very important, you have the templates available. For the track 1, the co-development template proposal, and for the track 2, the use case template proposal, the documents that you will be working on to build your proposal. Once you are ready, you want to start building your application form, you can start it, and you can choose to really click on our page, the button, the track that you're going to be applying to, track 1 or track 2, and depends which track you are choosing to apply. This is what's going to pop up. In case you are not registered to F6S, the platform is going to ask you to simply sign up, and you have those 3 means to choose how you want to get access to the platform. Let me just continue having a closer look on the track 1, the co-development, focusing on who, what, and when is happening in this track. So when we take a closer look for the co-development track, you can apply as a single SME or startup, but you can also build a consortium with an additional startup or the SME. This is a call for the technology developers, as you could hear from Alain and from my presentation. This is to co-develop certain features for the CORTEX2. An emphasis is, of course, for the innovators that are representing the XR, AR, AI startups and SMEs. What is actually expected from you? So in order to build a successful application proposal, you need to choose one of these topics. So there are those 10 topics. The topic number 1, user representation and user avatar customization. Topic 2, real-time virtualizer. Topic 3, collaboration and object manipulation. Topic 4, IoT adaptability of the CORTEX2 framework. Topic 5, dynamic library of personalized gestures. Topic 6, 3D objects library. Topic 7, autonomic note-taking in virtual video conference. Topic 8, connect your app service to XR engine. Topic 9, authoring tool for XR environment. And topic number 10, maintaining interface engagement and usability for the CORTEX2 framework. As mentioned before, if none of the topic fits you, you can definitely choose your own topic and submit your proposal. What is expected from you is that, you're going to be funded to develop, integrate, and validate this highly innovative XR, AR technologies that we expect for you to bring. There is a specific goal also highlighted in the guidelines for applicants, but Alan already also unfolded this. Where you can find actually more information of the requirements for each of the defined topic. So these are available in our guidelines for applicants. Depends which topic you're going to choose. You need to really study all the requirements, starting from what is the challenge, what are the technical requirements that you should follow, certain expertise from you, what will be required as the evaluation phase at the end of each sprint during the program duration. That means form of deliverables, what will be the expected KPIs to meet, what you can count from us, what support we'll be able to provide you from the CORTEX2, and what is the expected final outcome. All this information for each of the topics are in the guidelines for applicants. In case you are applying for the open topic, very important, please keep in mind that in the template for the proposal, you will need to define this for yourself. You will need to define a deliverable per each of the sprint, the means of verification of your progress in terms of the KPIs. And of course, let us know the tier level expected outcome of your proposal and what challenge you're going to be actually addressing. So finally, closing my session here, what is important to keep in mind? You apply again, it's the same deadline for the 2 tracks with the specific application link. Once you apply, there will be evaluation phase, remote with the independent evaluators. If you're going to be shortlisted, you're going to be invited for an interview, and then it's going to happen the program that's supposed to kick off in the April next year, 9 months program divided into 3 months each of the phase. During this program, you will be supported by the CORTEX2 assistant program when you're going to have your individual mentor contact point from the CORTEX2, aligned with the expertise that you're going to be working on and the technology challenge. And then at the end of each successfully accomplished sprint, we will be releasing the funding, as this is the rule for the cascade funding. And here I would like to invite Ellie to take over and give you more insight on the track 2 use cases.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Iwa. Moving to the track 2 use cases, a bit more in-depth presentation. So the use cases. I already see that there are several questions for the use cases. Our main purpose with this track is to bring novel use cases beyond the 3 pilots that we are developing within the project, meaning that we do not expect you to collaborate with the pilots, but we absolutely do not restrict you to apply within the fields that the pilots have been developed. For who is the use case track? As Iva mentioned, we are extending the entities that we are offering our call to. Here we're looking for SMEs, startups, but also research institutions, foundations, NGOs, higher education institutions, and so forth. The maximum funding that you can receive by applying in Track2 use cases up to 200,000 euros, and the duration of the program is 12 months. Here you can apply as a consortia of maximum 2 entities, and you can as well apply as a single entity. What is core for Track2 use cases is for the participant or for the applicant to apply as a technology adopter who is going to test the Cortex platform and framework. And also, if you're applying as a single entity, you need to bring, obviously, the knowledge for building on top of the platform for the need that your company might have. Okay. Our goal with the use cases is very straightforward. We would want to test the market viability of our platform to get market feedback, and also to test the acceptability of the solution regarding ecological and societal impact. Another thing that we are aiming to achieve here is also test the most applicable solutions coming from the co-development track 1 into the use cases that will apply in track 2. Here, as you can see, we have a total of 9 domains that you can apply to. Here you can see education, business, industry, healthcare, emergency and crisis, entertainment and culture, healthcare, and accessibility and social inclusion. And we have an open domain as well. We have brought the open domain because we acknowledge the fact that we might have missed some potential domains that companies that are applying within the use cases might want to bring in to the project. So that's why, in case you do not see your domain within the ones listed here, please feel free to propose your own one. Okay. Finally, in order to apply, what you have to do is first check the domain that you want to apply for and go to Annex 1 Guidelines for Applicants. There you will see the requirements for the domains. Something that is different from the co-development track is that the requirements for all the domains are the same. Okay. And here we have the timeline. They are more or less similar with the co-development track. There is a difference mainly in the start of the participation of the entities that were selected within track 2. So you apply again until the 16th of January, 17 o'clock CET. Then we have the evaluation and contracting happening from February till May 2024. And then we have phase 1 requirements, which starts in June 2024. Then we move to phase 2, development and deployment, which starts in September 2024. And then we have the final phase where we expect you to test the solution with the users, the validation phase starting in February 2025. The program duration for the use cases is a bit longer than the co-development track. We are going to work with you in a 12-month program under the Cortex assistance. And finally here, cascade funding is going to be provided to the successful applicants upon successful completion of each of the mentioned phases. Okay, that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Ellie. We can continue with the last presentation from Narek about the technical aspects CORTEX2, and here it is.
Thank you, Iva, and thank you, Ellie, for your presentations. Yes, I will go over some of the technical aspects that we are trying to achieve in Project CORTEX2. As it was also mentioned earlier, the technical goal of the project is to bind telecommunication technologies with XR technologies. That is, imagine your team meetings or your Zoom meetings happening together with an XR technology. So for this project in CORTEX2, we are using Open Rainbow for telecommunication that is provided to us by our partner Alcatel-Lucent. Just for clarification, what we are not trying to achieve in this project is to simply run a telecommunication app in a VR or AR device. That is, we are not trying to run a simple 2D video conferencing in an XR device. Rather, we would like to have a fully integrated 3D environment that supports telecommunications and the interactions. Of course, this brings some challenges for us. For example, we would like to be able to cover the XR spectrum. That is, we would like our apps to function in AR and VR. Or another challenge that we are trying to solve is how to represent the environment accurately, which will enable a meaningful collaboration and cooperation during a telecommunication. Now, of course, how was our approach to these problems? We started with user requirement analysis, as in we are trying to find features that are in common, that the telecommunication and XR have in common. And we started from there, and we tried to find a set of functional requirements from which, on top of which, we can build a meaningful architecture and then an implementation. Couple of examples here are: we need to be able to provide device compatibilities, as in not only on AR or VR glasses, but also on mobile phones or tablets. Of course, there were requirements, technical and soft requirements that we want to be able to overcome. Develop for those requirements. For example, the goal here is to be able to build a reference implementation that is usable as a base for everyone. We would like to develop our applications with Unity and with web support. And on top of that, we need to take care of soft requirements such as legal and ethical problems. This brings us to our initial architecture design, which is a client-server architecture containing 3 layers. The first layer, the Cortex client, is aimed to have our application lifecycle in it and runs on the client devices. The client is in contact with our server, which contains our Cortex core and the Cortex services. The Cortex core contains the Rainbow application in a form of an SDK and the user management, which enables the telecommunication. And then lastly, the Cortex services are the services that is provided by us technical partners and can be used either in the server or in the either in the Cortex core or in the client by if needed or on the basis of the need. Some of the examples for the services are, for example, video compression and alternative appearance, we call it VCAA, or IoT sensing devices, or speech-to-text services, which are used for meeting summarization. Moving on to our pilots, to basically realize or build proof of concepts of our architecture, we have defined 3 pilots I mentioned earlier. Development of industrial remote cooperation, virtual reality and training in virtual reality, and development of a virtual business meeting scenario. The industrial remote cooperation looks at a scenario where a remote expert and technicians are trying to solve a problem together in the context of industry. Training in virtual reality aims to create a scenario where a trainer and several trainees can work together, and then trainees can learn and acquire some expertise through VR. And the business meeting is trying to reimagine or re-implement business meetings in such a way that is accompanied with several services, such as a business meeting summarization. A closer look at our pilots for the pilot 1. In the Cortex framework, as I said, we have a technician scene and an expert scene, which are running in Unity and are connected to each other via the Rainbow platform that is provided to us for telecommunication. The technician and expert are both considered the clients that are using, as I said, the Rainbow, the Cortex core for communication. Now, in this scenario, the challenge here is to have a scene that is accessible to the technician via augmented reality, and the same scene is also accessible to the remote, which does not have a augmented reality application on its on their side. The challenge here is how can we develop it in such a way that they both can collaborate together in a given scene and then provide them with the tools necessary to have a meaningful collaboration to solve a problem. Moving on to our VR training session pilot, imagine that we would like to have a training session that will with the goal of training the trainees to use a industrial device such an excavator or cranes or any or in a medical scenario. This requires very precise modeling and interaction level present in the scene. This is the overall architecture of our training pilot. It starts with the Cortex client, which again runs the Unity scene. And in the Cortex core, it is managing the courses and the necessary services that are then going to be used in the client for the session. The challenges that will happen in this pilot is, of course, how we can accurately simulate certain scenarios. For example, the crane or the excavator movements, or if we are trying to build a scenario where we can practice safety measurements for a scenario which is very dangerous. For example, if there is a fire emergency, how we can leave the building in a safe manner, and then we can handle the situation. Moving on to our business meeting pilot, as I said, we are trying to have a business meeting where different components are in place. For example, a virtual assistant, which can at live answer questions, and a business meeting summarizer, which at the end can give us a automatic summary of what has happened in the meeting. This scenario is also accompanied with video avatar alternative presentation. That is, you can then look as an avatar that is generated with your chosen image. This is the overall architecture of our business meeting scenario, where as the business meeting happens, several users can connect, and they can then use the different services that is provided through the service section and the core to carry out the session. And in this then in this pilot, what is accessible available to them is, for example, the Internet of Things devices, where they can, for example, in virtual reality, see different sensors and different data presented to them in a virtual session. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation, and I believe I would like to hand over the session to Iwa or Ellie.
Hi. Yes, I'm taking over since Iwa is experiencing some connection trouble. So, Narek, thank you for your presentation. We are now free to move to the Q&A session. Our team has tried to respond to most of the questions during the presentation throughout the chat, so we do not waste time since we have 1 hour. Nevertheless, now we will try to respond to all questions remaining. In any case, if time does not allow, we are as well going to do a question box, a FAQ in CORTEX2 website, so you will be able to see the responses to all your questions. Okay, so now I'm going through the typed in questions. So first one, it is expected that the integrations are directly integrated with the platform or provides made accessible for the VR platform for use. Alan, would you like to take over?
Yeah, and the answer is clearly yes, because we see this opportunity as a co-development. So the companies or the partners that will develop with us, we expect the results to be integrated in the platform and made accessible. It can be a VR or an XR platform, but it will be a module to be used in the platform.
Excellent. In case anything is remaining for this question to be responded appropriately, please feel free to ask more questions. Then the second one, we have been matched on Founders Boost. Our startup is connecting data sources in real time, like IoT devices, internal and external data in an innovative way. We would like to contribute this knowledge to the solution, but I do not know if it is for call 1 or 2. My quick question to my quick response to this question is that your solution is suitable for track 1, co-development. And of course, if Alan would want to add something.
Yeah, well, I think by reading this short description, it fits more for the topic 1. So, I mean, in the question, it's written call 1 or 2. Actually, the topic 1 or topic 2 of the call 1. So,
okay.
Yes, the topic 1 is co-development, and I think this is rather a technical innovation. So, yes, it would be topic 1.
Okay, in case of the specific track, yes. Okay, so yeah, if there is another question, please do let us know. Then following, it's a remote social interactive application which takes place in VR versus AR in scope for this project. Alan?
Yes, yeah, I think yes, this is in scope. The project is actually funded by Horizon Europe program that was about telecooperation. So the important aspect is that the use case have to show some type of remote interaction. So in that case, your short description fits in. Now, I think that you need to be quite precise in describing your use case. If it's too generic, we will have difficulties to assess if it's sufficiently differentiated from what we already have in our use cases. I would, yes, please, you can develop this idea, but you should make it more specific.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. Following question, is there a code, framework, or API which developers can use to extend for specific use cases? I feel that Narek has responded to this question. Nevertheless, do we like to build on that?
Yeah, well, yes, there is a code framework, there is an API. So at the time of the start of the project, this will be made available for being able to use it. So we'll provide 2 things. First, an API so that the extension modules can actually integrate into our framework. But we will also provide exemplary use cases. So kind of smaller projects that you can take as an example to develop your own project.
Awesome. Thank you, Alan. Then the next one, can an SME apply to different pilots with different use cases? The question here is answered within the guidelines, and the situation is the following. Only one applicant per EU regulation can be funded through a single call, meaning that in case of an SME participating in several project proposals, only one of these can be selected, regardless of the fact that all of them might be very suitable for the open call. So this is something to have in mind. Only one applicant can be funded through the open call. Okay, next question. Is Unity mandatory? Can we use Unreal Engine?
So the answer is that currently we are supporting two types of integration. The first one is application written in Unity game engine. The second is using Mozilla Hubs, so WebXR. Currently, we do not support Unreal Engine, and there is no plan that we will support it until the end of the project. So unless you come with a good plan on how to use a Unreal Engine development within a larger, let's say, WebXR approach that would convince us that it will work, we are not going to do a support for Unreal Engine in the project.
Okay, thank you. Next one. Would it be equally good to address one of the existing pilots in track 2, or are you preferably looking for new use cases? So that's a very good question. Alan, do you want to take on this?
I try to just make sure I understand the question. So I guess it's about the different domains that we have listed.
So my understanding on this question, if I may, is that they're asking whether they would want us for them to build on the 3 pilots. So participating in the use case to build on the 3 pilots that we're developing within the project.
Okay, in that case, the answer is it's way much preferable to have new use cases, because the use cases that we presented in the 3 pilots are already addressed by the consortium. So we will do the entire validation, the user studies of the 3 presented pilots. And now we are seeking actually additional use cases that are different from these 3.
Yes, but they can fall within the same domain that the pilots are being developed. Okay, I hope that this answers the question. If not, please feel free to.
Similar domain, but you cannot join us in developing these pilots. These are already 3 use cases that we selected.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Alan. Then next one. We make huge modular 3D libraries compatible for AR, VR. Would something like this fit with the current call?
I would say yes, because I think it fits in one of the topics we have defined, which is making some libraries of assets, of objects, and making it available for AR, VR. So yes, I think this could probably fit.
Excellent. Next question. Our startup distributes coupons and promotions directly from brands and businesses to consumers by harnessing AR advertising. Does this fall with the ambit of call 1? And what happens at the end of the process as far as our relationship with CORTEX2?
I would need to check. I don't exactly understand what the startup is doing in AR, but if it's developing AR applications with a focus on telecooperation, so this is the important part. It needs to be not only a single AR thing that someone opens and is alone in the experience. It needs to be a collaborative experience. So if you can extend, or if you have already in your startup the possibility of having this, yes, then it could work. Probably it could be either a co-development or a new use case, depending on how you want to shape it. And as for the end of the question, what happens at the end of the process as far as our relationship with Cortex? So I think this is probably of importance for everyone. It has to do also with the IP rights. So since this co-development and you come in with a development that your company has made for the project. We follow the same rules for IP rights as in any EU project, which is that you will have to declare some background that you have already before starting to work with us. So for all this background, you have a protection of your background IP. So this belongs to you. And when joining the project, there is a situation of co-development where what is developed solely by one partner is the property of that partner. If it's co-developed together, then it's a shared IP. And as far as the commercialization of the results, then the partners will have to agree on the commercialization depending on these rights that have been secured before. So when you start the project or when you start to work with us, in the contract, there will be a declaration of background IP, and there will be a co-development with shared IP for the shared modules.
Perfect, thank you. Next question. Who provide Unity licenses, since Unity is not for free?
Yes, so Unity is not for free if you develop for more than a certain number of licenses. So currently we develop under the free license model of Unity. So you don't need a license to do the development for this project. The question is if it comes to a product that is commercialized, then the financing of the Unity license has to be taken into account into the business model for the product.
Okay, next question. Why the budget for track 2 is 2 times more than the budget for track 1?
Well, we have selected a number of projects that we want to have in co-development and in use cases. So I don't know if you're mentioning the total budget or the maximum budget per partner. The idea is that in the track 2, which are use cases, there will be a longer period. It will be 12 months. So it will involve probably more work to set up a use case and organize the user testing. So this is the reason why we foresee more budget for that. The track 1 is meant for 9 months. And we foresee only 100,000 euros for that one.
Thank you, Alain. Additionally, for track 2, if I may add, we are expecting, considering the focus on technology adopters, we're expecting that it's going to be more of a consortia built activity, although of course single entities are also allowed. And this is why exactly the budget is slightly higher. Also consider that this is the maximum amount of funding that the use case track can receive. Okay. So following next question. Provided that they have Unity support, are we free to use smart devices like glasses or gloves, or it's our choice?
I would say yes, meaning that we want the Cortex framework to be as generic as possible. So currently we are developing for a limited number of glasses, for example, and devices. So we are developing for the glasses Lynx, the French company. But in the frame of a co-development or the use cases, if you plan to use another type of glasses, then you can use them, but you will have to do the integration on this device on your own. So there will be not a specific support from the consortium to enable the working of Cortex on that specific type of glasses. The same for gloves. Currently, we don't use specific gloves, but if your ID involves the use of a specific hardware, yes, you can use it if you are providing the effort integrate the use of this hardware in the framework.
Thank you, Alan. I see that right now we have 3 more questions. The time for the webinar has actually finished, but what I suggest is we respond to those 3 final questions since there aren't any more, and afterwards we will close. So next one, what about the Cesium 3D engine for geographically referenced scenes or something similar? Sounds like most of the use case would be geographically referenced or in some kind of spatial projection.
Well, yes, I don't know this particular engine, but I think that probably you can use it or something similar. We are open to new use cases, so I'm not sure that most of them will be geographically referenced. I mean, some of them will not, but if you have an ID that requires a geographical reference, then yes, you can include external engines. That's possible.
Okay, excellent. And then 2 more. As an EU-funded institution, how can we take advantage and what would the use of CORTEX2 be? That's a very good question.
So if I understand this correctly, as when everything is finished and we have Cortex finally available for everyone, what is the advantage? Then you have a lot of advantage because our aim is actually to create the next generation of collaborative work. So it would be a natural extension of a video conferencing tool. And one of the advantages is that now currently I cannot share with you my environment. You don't know what I see. So with Cortex, there is a possibility of scanning the environment, and then you can share your reality with distant persons and start to have a possible interaction, even if you are far apart. So actually it opens the way for a new kind of, a new series of use cases that are not limited only to talking or doing office work, but that is more linked to your environment and to your interaction with objects and the scene. I think this would be an advantage. Now it depends on for what specific use you want to use it. We tried to focus on industrial work in one of the scenarios where you need to share information about what is happening. So in that case, you can scan and send in, real-time information about the situation, but probably there are many other ones like virtual school rooms or education. Many things are possible, I would say.
Yes, and if you'd like, you can send us a bit more information on your particular case so we can see how we can explore this further, of course. And then the final question, we are on the app, AR Trails app working in tourism. Does it fit the criteria of the call?
It's a little bit difficult to answer knowing only the name and the context. Working in tourism, I would say yes, it fits the criteria without further information. Again, the focus of the project is cooperation, so tele-cooperation. So it would fit the call if it's for multiple persons sharing an experience on different locations. So if you can use your app for doing this within the project, then yes, it can fit the criteria of the call.
Excellent. So I see that no more questions are coming and everything was responded. Nevertheless, as I mentioned, we're going to do a FAQ, so you will be able to see the responses to those questions as well. In the meantime, of course, feel free to send your questions to our open call email, and we will respond to you as soon as possible. And that's it from us. From now, we're going to have 2 more webinars following. Iwa, would you want to add something prior we conclude?
Well, just thank you everyone for participation, staying with us, let's say 5 minutes more, I can see. We definitely encourage you to keep track on our social media. We will be posting when this upcoming webinars will be running. If you have any questions, feel encouraged to also use the F6S discussion page, where we can, have the communication there faster, and also it's a transparency for the other applicants to see potential common questions. Study guidelines for applicants. I could hear a lot of questions were coming. That potentially the guidelines for applicants will have for you a lot of the answers. Any further questions, feel free to always reach out to us. And we hope to see your applications in the pipeline, and we hope to collaborate with you. We wish you good luck. And that's it from my side. I think Alan, if you want to take any final notes, then I suggest we will just simply sign off.
I think your final note was perfect. So I just have to thank you again, and well, please apply to our call. We would be happy to hear about your ideas.
Amazing, thank you. Final note is that those of you that were registered, we will be sharing with you a message with the link once the webinar is already published on our website. And of course, afterwards, it will be distributed across the social media. Again, thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon and good luck with your applications.